Today's demo is going to focus on rough puff pastry. We're going to then look to see how we can make that into sausage rolls or into other products. The ingredients we need for this are very basic. We need plain flour, so it has no raising agent in it. So we need 110 grams of plain flour. And then we need fat. So we use two different types of fat here. We use lard, white fat, and then we also use a hard margarine there. And that is 75 grams of mixed. And I'm just going to pop that into here. There's already a pinch of salt in the flour. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to use a round bladed knife and we're just going to cut up the fat into large chunks, coating it with the flour. So we don't want to get our fingers in there, we don't want to melt it, we want to keep it as cold as possible. So everything is chilled and as cold as possible. So we're not looking for tiny chunks, we're not looking for it rubbed in like we would on a short crust pastry. We just want reasonable sized layers of fat. And that is suitable. The next stage is we're going to mix it into a very stiff dough. So I'm just going to add in a little bit of water, probably about a tablespoon. And then I'm going to mix it. Now we don't want to be a sticky dough, we just want it to be a nice stiff dough. And we should still see at this point large lumps of fat. That's absolutely fine. I'm going to put a little bit more water in there. Adding in the water here to produce a stiff dough. We don't need this pastry because the last thing we want to do is produce gluten, because that would make it stretchy. And as you can see, the addition of the water has brought the dough into a bowl. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put it onto the desk, onto the bench, and we're just going to put a little bit of flour onto the bench. Now, the idea now is what we're going to do is we're going to roll it out. So, watching what we're going to do, we're going to roll it away from us. Now, look at the pressure I'm putting on the rolling pin. I'm not pressing down really hard. I'm doing an even pressure. And as you can see, as I do it, you can actually see the fat marbling and starting to roll out. Now, it might be a little bit sticky, that's fine. We can put a little bit more on here. Watch what I'm doing. I'm only rolling one way. I'm rolling one way and I'm rolling away from me. If we roll it back and forwards, we will break the little bubbles that are inside. So we don't want to do that. We want to have these air bubbles. I'm going to turn around and then we're going to fold it in and we're going to fold it into three. And then we are going to roll it again. So again, I'm going to roll it. Now look what I'm doing. I'm rolling it one way because I don't want to burst the air bubbles I've already got in there. So what we're doing is we're layering here. We're actually laminating and layering here. And we're going to make lots of little air bubbles. And we're trapping them. So again, I'm going to give it a quarter turn. And then I'm going to fold it. So I'm going to fold the edge in. I'm going to fold the edge in. And then I'm going to roll it again. So you need to do this at least 3 times. So the top tips are keep everything cold. I'm rolling away from me. But as you can see, the fat is distributing throughout the dough. Now a nice even pressure. We don't want it to be really thin. And again, I'm going to turn it. I'm going to fold it in and I'm going to fold it in. Now that is enough there now to ready to be chilled, and we need to leave that to relax. So we're going to leave that now for about 15 minutes. We're going to wrap it up, leave it for about 15 minutes to chill, and then we'll come back and we'll make it into sausage rolls. The next stage of making the sausage rolls is to prepare the sausages. So we are just using normal sausages. And we're just going to break the links. Remember, we're using a red chopping board because we're dealing with raw meat here. And then we just need to skin these. So with a sharp knife, we're just going to cut the skin down, and then we're just going to peel off the skin so that we're just left with the sausage meat. So just cutting through the skin and peeling the skin from the sausage meat. Now remember, as soon as you've done this, you must wash your hands straight away, get rid of the rubbish and put any dirty equipment at the sink. Now that we've taken the pastry from the fridge, it's now chilled, it's had time to relax, which will allow any gluten to relax, and this will prevent any shrinkage. The idea now is what we're going to do is we're going to roll this out gently. Again, as we've said before, only rolling in one direction because we don't want to burst the air bubbles we've created by rolling and folding. And what we want to do, because I'm going to change these, I'm going to make these into sausage rolls today. And what we want to do is we want to just make a long rectangle out of the pastry. So we've got a long rectangle here. We then need to work out roughly about what size it needs to be. Just going to roll this out a little bit more. And then all we're going to do is we're going to place the sausages down the centre of the pastry. And remember, we're finished with this now, so it needs to go beside the sink. To make the sausage roll, what we're going to do is we are going to use a little bit of milk, and we're just going to paint it down one side, and then we're going to roll the pastry over until we create a seal. And that we're going to seal the edges there. And then we're going to turn it round, and we're now going to cut it into sausage rolls. So we're going to cut the end piece off, but we're not going to get rid of that. We'll put it into we'll cook it as well. And then we're going to roughly cut down and make individual sausage rolls, trying to keep them all about the same size and shape. Then we're going to put a little pattern on the top. So I'm just using the knife to create a little pattern. Now these are going to go into a really hot oven. And as they go into the oven to cook, the heat will turn any liquid that's been in there, so the water, into steam, and that will help it rise. Once each of the sausage rolls have been scored, I'm just going to place them onto a floured tray to prevent them sticking. These are going to go into a very hot oven. The air that we trapped in will help them rise and they'll become lovely and flaky. And also the liquid that was in them, so that was the water, because it's going into a hot oven, will turn it into steam, and that will also help create them rise. And what you will end up with is lots of nice layers of flaky pastry. We're not quite finished because to get the nice glaze on the top, I'm just going to use a little bit of the milk. And I'm just going to brush it over the top. Now you can use egg as well if you want, but this will give it a nice shine. So they're going to go in the oven at 230 degrees centigrade or gas 8 for about 20 minutes. Let's see what happens after they've been in the oven for 20 minutes. Once the sausage rolls come from the oven, make sure you put them onto a heat-proof mat and you've been using oven gloves. I'm then going to use a fish slice and just gently put them onto the cooling tray. Now this is important so that the air gets below them and then can still leave that crispy bottom. So the success criteria for our sausage rolls, for our rough puff pastry, is that they should be golden brown, they should be well risen, you should have decoration on it, they should be roughly the same size and shape, and if you look at them you can see that they have risen. Now the rising, remember, is caused by the air being trapped inside the pastry and the moisture in the pastry turning to steam in the very high heat and then causing it to rise. So that now should be a nice flaky pastry.